Well, hello and welcome to another review. I'm sorry I'm a bit late, so it's going to be a double episode. We're going to be covering episode 2 and 3. I've only just got round to watching them just now. Well, I watched them last night. I loved the third episode, which I'm going to focus more on. I found that the second episode of Strange New Worlds, it reminded me of the original Star Trek series, Court Martial, when Kirk were on trial for the accident in the Ion Storm. I found it very like that, but I loved the lawyer, the civil rights lawyer. I thought she was amazing. She totally got them with her own laws when Una was on trial for being genetically modified. Now, it's interesting with this series. Now, I've hardly seen Anson Mount really as Captain Pike. I mean, the episodes have been about certain crew members, which I find this sort of interesting. Now, a lot of people did complain about the first episode, saying it lacks something. Now, I thought, like, the pilot episode for the first season was exemplary, but I think they're trying to be different this season, so I have to say there is a difference with how season 2 has started, but I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the Court Martial episode, never had a problem with it. But for me, I thought, like, with season 2, would have got like the big bang episode and then eased into like episode 2 would have been episode 4 or 5. You know, when they're mid-range episodes all set in one set and being political about something or a story. But they were really, like with Una's Court, I was talking to my co-host last week, and there were no B story, like a secondary story in the second episode. And I see what I mean, so I rewatched the second episode. And they got round to watching the third episode last night. Sorry, I said both. And there should have been more of a B story to sort of float around in the background. But it never quite happened. It was all focused on the kid. And don't get me wrong, I found it quite fascinating. And I have watched the episode twice. And I thought, yeah, I am watching Star Trek. But it seems Strange New Worlds is, I don't know, I think like, because I think at the end of episode 2, was that one? No, one, there's something with the Admirals and the Gorn threat. You know, which I think the Gorn are going to be prevalent in this series, which is going to be interesting. So let's get into, episode 2, there ain't really much to talk about. It's a court case. I found it got the message across about rights and representation. I think they did a great job. It was watching Star Trek. But episode 3, I have to say, I've watched this twice last night, and I was totally blown away with it. I mean, basically, episode 3, you might not agree with this, but for me, it was a sequel to Enterprise. Now, you're going to say, how is this a sequel to Enterprise? Temporal Cold War. It's going on still, isn't it? Even though Archer stops it. You know, it's time travel, don't get me started. But obviously some Romulans have gone back in the past, and or some aliens. They put a photonic charge on the bridge. They took what were left of the bomb, this global bridge it were built, and the world were looking like it was trying to get into a place, but we find out there's been certain forces trying to keep humanity down because they don't want them advancing. Obviously that's because of the future. And I liked it with with her. She's in the corridor, this temporal agent appears, gives her a device, she goes back. Well, she crosses over into another parallel universe. We get to see Captain Kirk. Now, I am starting to wonder on this, you know. I really am, because are we going to get a Captain Kirk series? Because now I do like the guy that plays him. I think he's very good. You know, I forgot his name, but I think he's very good. And I could say, now the question is Strange New Worlds meant to back Captain Pike and his crew, but there was quite a big focus on James Kirk, wasn't there? You know, and it Captain Enterprise and all that. And I am starting to wonder, are we gonna get a Star Trek series? Now I have a theory, but let's get back into episode 3 of this. So they end up like he tries to take a time device off it, and they end up back in today, Canada. Bridge gets done. And they're running a lot of running about. There's a moment where they're almost going to have sex together, where they're both lonely, because he's not from the Federation, even though he's got a uniform on. He's United Earth Agency or whatever, which I found. I remember the episode started with there being that pilot aboard. It was that. And it was great seeing Spock. The Vulcans have been defeated by the Romulans. That were interesting. I mean, there's a whole universe here to explore. And they go and investigate the bridge. He plays chess, makes a load of money. Somehow they can afford to live in a nice apartment. All quite amazing. But it's Star Trek. And they find the Lancastrian, the alien, the engineering lady. She's a great actress. And they work out a cold fusion reactor, and it never really explains about Canada, because we've got the Romulan woman who's from the far future and knows who Captain Kirk is. She kills him because at first you think she's one of these like conspiracy theorists, and it ends up she's a Romulan. She's been stuck on Earth for 30 years and she's trying to she's interfering in certain events in time. And we get into this like office block where they've took this like photonic casing of what we're left, and they're in there, and we get to see the Khan-Noonien Singh Institute, and then she has a fight. She's going to go in there and kill Khan, because she knows if she kills Khan it'll change history totally, and the devastation. But I mean, there's a couple of loopholes in here which I could go over, but I'm not gonna. I'm going to accept it for what it was. And, well, plot holes, the war. I mean, there's a couple of questions. But they've obviously reset the timeline with Khan's history now, which is so Khan struck later in the 21st century when he went to power. And she met him. He was a kid. He was a little kid. And she could have killed him and changed history, but she didn't. And the device went red, and little kid said so on Khan, said, you here to kill me? She said, no, I'm here to protect you. And Kirk dies. I mean, he just gets shot. He tries doing his bluff thing, and the Romulan woman shoots him, and she shoots her, and that's it. And then she ends up back in the future, and we get to see a Temple agent in her quarters. And so I assume the Temple War is still going on, or part of it. There's something, you know. I mean, obviously I know Archer stops it, but this is one of the moments in time where it's all going on. So it was quite interesting, do you know what I mean? So I really enjoyed this episode. And I have to say, I hope episode 4's even better. Now I am going to say, I was saying earlier on, are we going to get a Captain Kirk series? Because there was a lot of emphasis on him, wasn't there? You know, I mean, they brought him in as like a guest actor. You know, Kirk pops up every now and again. Do you know what I mean? But suddenly we got a whole episode with him and her in it. Now I like this, like, one episode a week so far about different crew members. We're getting to know them, which I think is really good. But would an actual Captain Kirk series work? Now, maybe we could do the final 2 years of the 5-year mission, or 3 years, or we could do the start of the 5-year mission. Maybe when Pike gets, apparently I've heard Strange New World's only going to go for 3 seasons. I could be wrong. But maybe when Pike has his accident, and Strange New Worlds continues into Star Trek, where when he's had his accident saving whoever, then Captain Kirk comes into it, and season 4 and 5, Strange New Worlds, is Captain Kirk, and starting the the first 2 years of the 5-year mission, so we get 5 seasons. I don't know, this is me sort of going on. I don't think they should do it, you know, but it would be interesting to see if they do. I don't know, I am a bit worried about the Star Trek franchise because it took them 5 years to get it right. And, you know, finally Picard Season 3 were exemplary, they got that right. Strange New Worlds is Star Trek, even though with a modern twist to it, I understand that. But like at the end of the day, when Prodigy gets cancelled, when it's popular and there's a massive fan base for it, it does worry me. Does Star Trek finish after Strange New Worlds? Is that it? And then we have to wait another decade? I mean, Discovery, I'm not going to go there on that. I'm in and out with it. But it should be interesting. You know, these are just my thoughts. So I will see you on the next video. Please subscribe, give us a like. And we're doing the final podcast this week. We're going to be off for a couple of weeks, which is a bit of a break. So it's YouTube for you. And live long and prosper. And I've got to say, it's a life immortal.